What if there was a book sitting in a glass case right now that no human being on Earth can read? Not because it's lost, not because it's been destroyed, but because the language it's written in doesn't match anything ever spoken by our species. 240 pages, thousands of words. A script flowing in elegant, looping strokes illustrated with plants that don't exist, stars that follow no known constellation, and figures bathing in green liquid inside impossible plumbing. For over 600 years, this book has sat in silence, daring anyone to understand it. Kings tried. Emperors tried. The most brilliant cryptographers of the 20th century tried, armed with machines built to break Nazi codes. All of them failed. And the deeper you look into this manuscript, in 1912, a Polish book dealer named Wilfred Voynich was rummaging through a dusty collection of manuscripts in an Italian villa when he found it. A slim, unassuming volume, bound in vellum, filled with an alphabet no one recognized. He would spend the rest of his life trying to sell the idea that this was the key to unlocking forgotten knowledge. Scientists later carbon-dated the vellum itself, not ink, not guesswork, but the actual animal skin the pages were made from, to somewhere between 1404 and 1438. That places its creation squarely in the heart of the late Middle Ages, generations before Voynich was even born. Whoever wrote this book lived and died 500 years before anyone tried to read it again. And open the manuscript, and the strangeness only deepens. The first section overflows with drawings of plants, roots twisting like veins, leaves shaped like nothing found in any botanical record. Botanists have scoured every known species on Earth and found no match. Later pages show a night sky of unfamiliar constellations, wheels of symbols radiating outward like some forgotten astrological chart. Then come the human figures, dozens of nude women bathing in green pools connected by tubes and chambers that resemble biological plumbing more than medieval anatomy. And running beneath every illustration, always, is the text. Thousands of words in a script called Voynichese, written fluently, without hesitation, without a single crossed-out letter or correction. This fluency is what has haunted cryptographers for over a century. In the 1940s, some of the very codebreakers who cracked Nazi Germany's Enigma machine turned their attention to the Voynich Manuscript in their spare time. If anyone on Earth could break a wartime cipher, surely they could break a 500-year-old book. They failed. Decades later, the NSA itself analyzed the text during the Cold War, treating it as a potential training exercise for code-breaking recruits. It, too, came away empty-handed. Then came computers, powerful enough to crack encryption that would take humans lifetimes to solve by hand. Statistical models, pattern recognition, machine learning, every modern tool humanity has built to defeat secrecy has been pointed at. Here's where it gets stranger. Real human languages follow a hidden mathematical rule called Zipf's law. Certain words appear extremely often, while most words appear rarely in a very specific, predictable curve. Randomly generated gibberish doesn't follow this pattern. Meaningless scribbles don't either. But the Voynich manuscript does. Its words behave statistically like real language word lengths, letter frequencies, even something resembling grammar. Some words cluster oddly near illustrations of plants, as if they're labels. Others repeat in patterns that resemble the structure of medieval Latin or Hebrew, but map onto no actual vocabulary in either. It's as if someone took the skeleton of human language and dressed it in a body no one has ever seen before. This isn't the fingerprint of knowledge. So what is it? Theory number 1. It's an elaborate hoax. Wilfred Voynich, some argue, could have faked the entire thing to sell it to a wealthy collector. But that theory collapses under its own weight. Radiocarbon dating proves the vellum predates Voynich's birth by 5 centuries. Someone would have had to fabricate an entire language, invent thousands of consistent words, draw hundreds of detailed illustrations, and do it all with 15th century materials for a payoff that never actually came since Voynich died without ever selling the book. That's an extraordinary amount of effort for a scam with no buyer. If it's a hoax, it's the most elaborate, least profitable hoax in the history of forgery. Theory number 2 is even stranger. It isn't a language at all, but the record of an altered mind. Some researchers point to the repetitive, almost hypnotic structure of the text and suggest it may have been produced through glossolalia, a trance-like state where a person produces fluent, structured, language-like sounds with no actual meaning behind them. Under this theory, a medieval mystic, possibly under the influence of illness, meditation, or hallucinogenic plants, may have entered an altered state and simply let their hand move, producing something that looks like language because the human brain is wired to create pattern even in chaos. If true, the Voynich manuscript isn't a message from someone to someone else. It's a mirror of the human. Then there's the theory that refuses to die quietly. What if it's real, but it's not from where or when we think? A small number of linguists have pointed to certain plant illustrations that resemble species native to Central America, plants that, according to official history, Europe wouldn't encounter until after Columbus's voyages. If those identifications are correct, The manuscript's timeline gets complicated fast. Either the dating is wrong, the illustrations are coincidental lookalikes, or someone in Europe had contact with New World botany earlier than history records. It's a thin thread, easily criticized, easily dismissed by mainstream scholars. But it refuses to be fully ruled out because no one has offered a clean, universally accepted explanation for the plants either way. In recent years, artificial intelligence has entered the race. Natural language processing models, the same technology behind modern translation software, have been trained on the Voynich text, hunting for hidden structure a human eye might miss. Some AI analyses found faint traces of Hebrew-like patterns or grammatical similarities to Latin, Arabic, or even Ukrainian, depending on which team ran the study. Each announcement made headlines, each was later challenged, and quietly walked back. The frustrating truth is this: modern AI, trained on the sum of recorded human language, cannot make this book speak. If a machine that has ingested billions of words from thousands of documented languages still can't crack it, the Voynich Manuscript isn't alone in its silence. Easter Island's Rongorongo tablets remain undeciphered. The Indus Valley script, used by an entire ancient civilization, has resisted translation for a century. Linear A, predating Greek civilization, still holds its secrets. Humanity has, throughout its history, produced systems of meaning that outlived the people who understood them, leaving behind messages addressed to no one in particular, waiting for readers who may never come. What makes the Voynich Manuscript different is its intimacy. It isn't carved in stone for a temple or a tomb. It's a personal book, illustrated by hand, meant to be held, read, referenced, like a private journal, a medical text. Consider what that means. Every civilization believes its knowledge will outlast it, written into law, scripture, science, art. We build libraries, servers, cloud archives, convinced that meaning, once recorded, is permanent. The Voynich Manuscript quietly destroys that illusion. It proves that language, the very thing that makes human thought transferable across time, is fragile. It can die completely even while its physical container survives intact. The parchment endures. The ink endures. The meaning does not. Somewhere in those looping, elegant letters may be a cure for a disease, a forgotten philosophy, a warning, a love letter, a prayer. We simply cannot know, because the one thing more fragile than paper is understanding itself. And if an entire maybe the Voynich Manuscript was never meant to be an answer. Maybe it's a mirror, held up to our own certainty that everything can eventually be known, decoded, translated, understood, given enough time and enough intelligence. For 600 years, the smartest minds in human history have stared into this book and seen only the reflection of their own desire for meaning. Patterns that feel like language, symbols that feel like intention, a message that feels like it's just barely out of reach. Perhaps one day someone will finally crack it, and the mystery will end in a single afternoon of quiet revelation. Or perhaps it never will be solved, not because we lack the intelligence, but because true understanding was never guaranteed to survive the people who carried it. The book sits in its glass case at Yale